GM fam, it's another live chat today. Happy Fractal Friday, everybody. So let's queue up some questions in the comments, see how long we can keep this nice live streak going for. Today, the big topic in DeFi is the newest stablecoin that's launching, which is Aave's GHO, short for Ghost. Now, we've also seen Curve's rumored Curve USD and Compound's Cash, so it seems like every protocol under the sun is launching their own stablecoin. And for good reason, too. Notice that everything else is crashing 90 to 100%. So dollar coins being down just some 8 to 20% with inflation means that, remarkably, dollars are holding up the best in a hyperinflationary environment. Who could have predicted that one? So today, we're workshopping a concept that's not yet ready for prime time, but we're interested in getting some feedback and hopefully we can develop this theory into something a little bit bigger. So here's roughly how it goes. We know that all pegged dollar coins, those that are actually worth $1, they're all equal in value, but they might still be very different in their utility. We think, quantify this directly using a bit of a variant of Metcalfe's law. Metcalfe's law is the law that the utility of a network is the square of its number of nodes. Here we're going to use the number of curve pools containing a particular coin as a measure of its utility, therefore. The curve pool substitutes as a node, because each new curve pool gives some flexibility for what you can do with any given coin. So by way of example, there's about 80 different destinations for your USDC. If you hold one USDC, you have a lot of options for where you can go with it. In contrast, just one PAX coin means that you need to convert it to make it more useful. It's only got one destination. This is a little bit similar to the mathematical concept of degrees of freedom, which is such a critical concept that actually appears often in physics. And now it's appearing in economics if this holds. It sort of maps a bit with expectations. We note that Frax and their new based pool is going to get a lot of utility as more coins pair with it. But before we can make this hypothesis a theory, we need to boil in a few more variables. How do we get things like TVL, volume, peg accounted for? There's loads more to do here, but this is sort of this rough draft idea we're tossing out there in hopes that some of the bigger brains in the community can help improve the concept. So this is essentially what I'm focusing on for the day. But this is your chat. This is perhaps the last live chat. We'll see how I'm feeling about doing these next week. It's been a ton of fun. But let's hear your questions in the comments. If you're a big brain and you think that you might be able to help us kind of apply Metcalfe's law to stablecoin utility, let's hear your thoughts. It's also Friday, so if you want to have small brain thoughts, we're fine with that too. Anything goes on Fractal Friday. Last live chat. I don't know if it's the last live chat. We'll circle back to the community and get some feedback. It's been a ton of fun, but this is I consider this your space. If you think it's more useful to do live chats, or if it's more useful to do just 1 to 2 short minute snippets, we can go either way with this. I think the question with live chats would be, is there enough content to keep people interested in coming back? I mean, I could talk about DeFi all day, and I do, to the annoyance of everyone around me. DeFi is just that fascinating and has so much going on. Even Curve itself has so much going on that I could probably talk about it all day, but I don't know if everyone else is so entertained by hearing Curve. So I was thinking maybe this could be a special occasion thing, do 1 or 2 live chats per week, and then leave the rest to be kind of the simpler. That being said, if we do go forward with the live chats, I'm going to figure out how to get OBS installed so I can actually have the cool backgrounds. This is very helpful for a number of reasons, one of which I can travel and no one will know. But more importantly, I think it's a little bit more fun than staring at my printouts of my NFTs behind me. Last point on whether there's a live, to continue live chats or not, it's sort of a function of the number of questions I get. So last 2 days running were phenomenal live chats. We went for a full half hour on each of them because people just kept firing questions. Today, maybe it's Hangover Friday. Maybe it was over at ETH Seattle. There doesn't seem to be a ton of questions popping in just yet. It's all right. It's high stress. Once a week live and doing your daily. I can talk to crypto to vast time. Yeah, I wouldn't even say this is high stress. This is super fun. The only thing that's stressful is throwing a party and nobody shows up, which I've done most of my life. There was a good several years where I threw multiple parties, and over the course of 4 different parties, only 1 human being showed up to it, which gives you an idea of just how fun my parties are. So I'm quite used to it. I don't care. The nice thing about throwing a party where nobody is no one knows that no one went. So you just tell people, oh yeah, the party was a great success. Have I found any working algorithmic stablecoin? The closest that I've seen would have to be, I mean, it sort of depends on what you're referring to as an algorithmic stablecoin. So like Liquidity USD, LUSD is arguably an algorithmic stablecoin, but it's over collateralized. I think you're referring to under collateralized algorithmic stablecoins. And this would very much be Frax is by far the biggest and best solution for this. Frax has done a really, really good job of being able to adjust their reserve requirement. So they were sitting at 80% for a bit. I think they tightened that back up to 100% when the kind of market troubles hit recently. But the fact that they've been coasting along with like 80, 85% backing, very good, especially in these environments. Whoever cracks completely under collateralized lending on chain is going to be a hero. It's like by far one of the most exciting possible growth markets. Keep going. The channel will grow. Just give it time. This is much needed SVC. Yeah, this is, I'm more than happy just to, like, if people think that the live streams are fun, just to keep doing this, even if we just get a tight crew. If nothing else, I have a lot of fun with it. And I think that it's going to pick up a bit over time. I think that some of the stuff that we've talked about is things like doing some interviews in the space, and have talked with some folks like DeFi Advisor. It would be a ton of stress, that part, like scheduling actual interviews and talking with real human beings instead of chat widgets, is that's more stressful. There's a lot of coordination of schedules. Would be really fun though. What about the Dopex stablecoin? Is it any good? I don't know if the Dopex, and yeah, layman terms, Frax is the closest one that works. Absolutely. So Luis, the Dopex stablecoin, is it any good? I don't know the specifics of the Dopex stablecoin just yet. I know it's launching. I've been, I know that they're in the process of looking at doing a curve pool, and I know that the Dopex team is brilliant, so I'm sure it's going to be good. I don't know enough. I haven't researched enough into it beyond that to know like how specifically it's going to be good. But when I was talking yesterday about like which protocols are utilizing higher level math, it is like Dopex is doing something I thought was impossible. One of the questions I have with Dopex is that they're pricing their options with the Black-Scholes formula. The Black-Scholes formula is like the best that we have for valuing options. And they've won like Nobel Prizes or the like for coming up with like this formula because options pricing is really tough. But even that being said, Black-Scholes only thrives in sort of ideal market conditions. And no market conditions are ideal. So it has a nasty tendency of exploding at various points in time. And yet the Dopex team, they are ticking along. So they're like taking this hardcore math and actually executing in production on chain against it, and thus far been spectacularly profitable as far as I can tell. So I'm very bullish on whatever they come up with for the Dopex USD. But I'm making a note to myself because that would be a really good coin to dive into as they approaching kind of a grander rollout with that. What do I think about Butterfly Cartel? I think it could be a good one. Butterfly is doing some cool things. Yeah, I'm very, very bullish on Butterfly. I had an interview with Sammy a few weeks ago. Those are the written Q&A interviews, so it's like nice and asynchronous, and it's not as difficult to crank out as like live interview chats like this. But the amount of stuff they're building over Butterfly is phenomenal. The thing that surprised me most is that in the most recent Convex unlocking and relocking, so of course most people just relocked in Convex, and a lot of people tried out both Clever and Badger. But I was surprised how few people flowed into Pyrax, because I would have figured that Pyrax was like a fairly compatible system for that more people would have tried. So I don't exactly have any good hypotheses offhand why Pyrax didn't capture more volume. But they're still doing fine. They have about $4 million TVL, which I'd take $4 million TVL. Citadel is launching soon too. Yeah. I mean, this stablecoin explosion thing is just the wildest thing that's happening. Like, I raised this point in my article today, but there is Ethereum as a chain is $150 billion in market cap, and it's got about $100 billion itself in stablecoins within it. So like Ethereum is like 67% stablecoins if you're just using that as the raw metric. So it's kind of crazy. All right. I'm not seeing any more chats rolling in. Is everyone just looking to go out and start their weekend? I hope some of you are going to ETH Seattle. Unfortunately, something came up, so I might have to miss it. They're also like doing first come, first serve, and I have a call right at 10. It starts right at 10, so I'm not going to be able to make it. So it is what it is. But anyone who's in Seattle, we are organizing a nice hike tomorrow. VS, hi back to you. Layman's term, been messing with NFTs. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention this in the article today, but it's amazing to me how much mind share there is around NFTs, because NFTs as a market, last I saw, this is before the crash, they're like 30 billion, and this is back when stablecoin volume was like 150 billion, or sorry, DeFi volume was like 150 billion. So NFTs, like in the popular consciousness, are massively larger than their market cap would suggest. That is, like, if DeFi is 5x bigger than NFTs, we should expect to see 5x more attention on DeFi than NFTs. But this is not the case. So it's either the case that NFTs are overexposed or they're undervalued. I'm not sure which one of those is true, but I get it. I would tend to think that they're probably overexposed because there's a ton of interesting, like, NFTs are visual, they're fun, they can like get this kind of left bell curve energy into it. DeFi is complex, but all the values in DeFi. So I still am like very, very bullish. Layman's term says NFTs and DeFi are going to be amazing. They already are amazing, and they're going to be even more amazing. I think DeFi is relatively like underappreciated in terms of how big it is. Luis Aranda, a bit of a shame that USDC is king right now. LOL. Had great hopes on UST, and we all know how that ended. I wouldn't necessarily say obviously UST is itself has ended, but I think we're going to see some sort of resurgence from Luna. Too many brilliant builders on there. I think they're going to come up with like a UST 2.0. I don't know how exactly they'll make right by the people who have UST, and I feel awful for the people who do have like UST Classic. I had high hopes that for what they could grow into, and I do think that like in slightly different circumstances, the Ponzi actually never collapses. If they go just a bit further, if they get like maybe a bit more Bitcoin collateral backing them, maybe they pull out unaffected. But that's not the universe we live in. We end up in the universe where UST collapsed and it took down all of CDFI with it. So USDC being king doesn't surprise me too much. They're running a pretty tight game there. And it sort of appeals to the same people that CDFI appealed to. So this kind of person that thinks, I want to keep my money in Celsius, or I want to keep my money in Voyager, is probably the same person that wants to keep their money in USDC. And there's a lot of people like this. Like I remember straight up going through like a class where I was like discussing the benefits of self-custody. And afterwards, someone was like, yeah, I just feel a lot better having it in a centralized service. I feel like it's safer. It's not, but people feel that way. And my facts don't care about their feelings. Their feelings don't care about my facts. Hello, sir. Am I still teaching at the University of Washington? I am an instructor of a evening class on financial technology. So it's not like an actual class, like for undergrads, like whatnot. This is just like people after hours, 7 to 9 p.m. in the evening, get together, talk about Python, talk about data science, talk about machine learning, and get into some solidity. I'm still teaching that. I very much enjoy it. It's like, it pays atrociously. So it's like a net minus EV for my time. I mean, this pays worse. This doesn't pay anything. But it's like marginally like better than this. So, but I do it for fun. It's like a lot of fun being able to chat with people who are interested in technology. And because it's technical, like I really like getting like answer technical questions that people have as we go through it, as well as like the applied technology. And I think it could lead to better things, but for the time being, it's a real garbage job. NFTs will change the world. DeFi will change all of finance. Just looking at the macro liquidations compared to DeFi. Yeah, DeFi is already changing finance. Like, it's wild to me. We've never seen anything like it. We've never seen, and this is just the first generation of DeFi. We've not seen, for example, like exchanges that don't go down, which is crv.v2. We've not seen, liquidations get processed and handled in real time. And one of the things that like I've been trying to work into like some kind of like thesis is that, so back during the Great Recession of 2008, like I was doing startups at the time, and I noticed that like the startup industry and like the financial markets, they noticed first when the market tanked. So there's like the huge crash, Bear Stearns went under, like same thing as like all these like protocols going under now. The other thing that I noticed from that was that by the time all these effects cascaded to the point where like my mom and dad noticed, aka like the broader economy was in a recession, by that point it seemed like the startup like world had recovered. Like it had kind of brushed itself off. There was new now parties, there's new startups getting launched, there was funding starting to flow again. And I'm noticing that parallel here, and that DeFi is like, it crashed quickly and terribly, but it sort of feel, I don't have any quantitative data to back this up, but doesn't it sort of feel like DeFi is emerging from the slump already, which is really quite remarkable because we're still seeing centralized DeFi, aka like Gemini, not Gemini, Gemini's doing fine, but 3AC, Celsius, they're still sorting stuff out, and it feels like it's like a month later, but it feels like a year later in DeFi. But meanwhile, DeFi is like doing awesome lately. We're seeing airdrops, we're seeing new projects being launched, we're seeing all this activity, to the point where like yes, prices are terrible, but it sort of feels like the bear market is over in DeFi. Like I'm not panicked anymore. I'm not feeling like the sense of dread every day, and I feel like a lot of people are feeling the same. So I kind of feel like DeFi is already back into a bull market. And this is like a bit oblique in the way that like if you looked at it a year ago when Bitcoin was at 60K, prices were going down, it was still felt bullish even though we were in a bear market. Now I kind of feel like we're in a bull market, or the start of a bull market, even though things are bearish. But way too soon to say. Like we know that more protocols might go under. We know there might be more rate hikes. Things might tank yet further from here. But I'm feeling like cautiously optimistic. NFTs will change the world. Yeah, I think the NFT use cases, we're only mostly looking at art because it's fun and visual, but I think we're going to see a lot more. Saw UST pumping to 10 cents. Do I know why that is? Well, dime's going to dime. I don't ever know why these things do what they do. I'm the last person to ask about price speculation. But I will note that like most of the DPEGs that we see in DeFi don't usually go to zero. They usually go to like some fraction to zero. There's usually some value there. And oftentimes like someone's able to get, come back in and get some level of restitution. So I don't know exactly what's going to come with USD, but 10 cents seems like, it sounds more reasonable than going completely to zero. What do I think about USD EUR exchange rate in the future? This one's a tough one. It's not financial advice. I don't pay as much attention to macro as I should. But of course, we have to pay a ton of attention to macro because it does affect and roll down to everything around us. I feel terrible for people in Europe. I feel very, very bearish on Europe at the moment. I hope that Europe's able to recover. I just don't see the path to it happening. It's got some massive headwinds it's going to have to face through. It's really killing itself with its dependence on Russian oil. And Russia is like playing this like much better than Europe's playing it. So I don't know how Europe gets out of it. I hope they do. But if you're in Europe, I would recommend finding a place outside of Europe to get to. Bond is such an amazing DeFi project too. Check them out. The cream is rising. I will check that out. That is very interesting. VS asks, do I have plans for Solidity courses for followers? In layman's terms, ads, do Viper. So I am working on some Viper content. You might recall that I've been periodically releasing for Curve a brownie tutorial, And this has been a lot of fun. I still have a few more courses in the works for it. One should be releasing today or probably over the weekend. Monday might be a better time to release it. But I've concurrently been working on a Viper tutorial for Curve. And I would be interested in hearing all of your thoughts, because one of the things with the Viper tutorial, especially a Curve Viper tutorial, is it has to be smart, focused on building a smart contract, something on chain, and yet it by going like through the launching this through the flag of Curve, it needs to have like massive Curve applications. So I've been trying to think of like a useful way of describing and a useful like project that I could build on chain that benefits Curve, but is not something that's kind of directly in Curve's critical path, because by the time I get the Viper tutorial developed, like the amazing Curve devs will have launched the feature themselves. Like I was trying actually to build a Curve meta registry and have that be the Viper tutorial, but then Fiddy went ahead and built it for like all of us. It's not launched yet, but it's going to be launched before I get the Viper tutorial out. So I have a few ideas that I can always fall back on, but I'm really interested in hearing kind of like this unifying concept of like what's a Viper contract that we could build out that ties in with and benefits Curve on chain. It might just be, if not that, I can just like launch a ERC20 token and deploy it to Curve pool using Viper or something. Viper is not wide, so after development, yeah, the Viper Discord's super hot though. So join the Viper Discord. It's a lot of fun. And just if you're building anything or looking to learn, a great place to reach out to the team. And Titanoboa still blows my mind. It's amazing. So hearing that Euro's in trouble big time, agreed. How to short European lives. Woof. Whew, you have to be stone cold if you're shorting people's lives. Not planning on doing that. But I'm not much of a trader anyhow. So true. Those kids at Curve are gigabrains. They are 100%, and it's a pleasure to be in the same orbit as them. DM. Have I heard about Vitalik's book? Release date September 13th. Merge confirmed. The publishing industry is a funny one. I'm surprised he didn't just release it as an NFT. He probably would have sold more copies that way, but Vitalik's brilliant. I'm sure I'll get the book because I'm a big fan of reading. Now publishing industry is funny because they have like a lot of considerations that touch off chain. So my guess is they plan the release time months in advance, years in advance, possibly. They might have had an inkling that maybe the merge would be happening around now. Who knows? Super excited about the merge though. I finally got my Gorley node up and running. And it seems like it's running okay. I might be able to use a smarter set of eyes to check it, but I am hoping that the price of Ethereum stays low because I'd like to buy like as many of these validated nodes as I can. Super exciting stuff. Keck, it will be an NFT all on chain. Ha ha ha. Shisha, amazing content. Thank you. Keep it up. I will keep it up. I'm amazed we're keeping this. We're clocking in at near half an hour, which is pretty good for a live stream, I think. Where can I support you? Shisha, I posted when I dropped this a few different links. So in this description of this, you should find my Substack. There is a paid version of the Substack, which gives you some exclusive content. And that doesn't support me directly. It goes to support PackDAO, which is a public goods DAO. In fact, Liquidity was kind enough to give me a grant for some of the articles I wrote about Liquidity, but I'm requesting that they send all the funds to PackDAO as well, because I'm just doing this for fun. Like, I'm not doing this for profit. And if I was doing it for profit, like, I'd have like more tax consequences and stuff like that. So as long as I'm not doing it for profit, like, my understanding is like I'm less likely to get thrown in prison, but it's US, so I can be thrown in prison for anything. That's why I got to enjoy this while we have lasts. But yeah, head over to the Curve Substack, and if you want to support the cause, subscribe, because I think number of paid subscribers does like help show some like show of support and show of force, and that this could be viable as a like standalone business if it ever wanted to get to that. On top of that, we listed in the description the YouTube and the Discord. So the Discord's new edition. It's fun. Having a blast with that, and I'm hoping more people join because I think we can do some fun stuff with that Discord. And then the YouTube channel here, just subscribe, like, share with your friends. I'm still figuring out the YouTube game, but it could be good. And let's see. Hope ETH drops a bit more. Yeah, like I feel ghoulish for wishing for this, but like the other day, like ETH dropped like $200. I saw that and I was like, I literally like let out a woohoo! I was so excited. I'm like panicked about ETH going back up. Luis Aranda. What about Cardano? Is it ever going to have a working DEX? I don't follow Cardano enough to know. I don't like. It was really something to watch the April Fool's pranks where everyone was ragging on Cardano. I don't dislike Cardano. I think I have like a couple $100 of Cardano lying around. I don't fully get the like hatred for it. That being said, like it's just not enough interesting stuff happening within the ecosystem that I don't pay much attention to it. I think it'd be really cool if Curve launched on Cardano, for example. Like it wouldn't be crazy. They need like a working smart contract platform there, but there's a ton of people for whatever reason that like really like Cardano. So like let's be realistic. Like let's look at where the puck is and where it's going. And Cardano clearly has a lot of like influence in the ecosystem. Ha ha ha! I'm not going to jail. Goodness, 3 Arrows is just lounging right now. You know, the funny thing about it is like 3 Arrows is safer because they're big. Like super rich people seldom go to jail. Like I am micro shrimp, so like if they want to make an example of somebody, they could knock me out real quick and I wouldn't be able to defend myself. They like shooting fish in a barrel. It's not a nice feature of our system, but this is the representative government that we pay our taxes to support. What are my thoughts on Aura Finance? So I'm not super well read on it, but everything I've seen about it so far looks really, really cool. I'm making a mental note of that to write a bit more about that for some posts next week. This is not native place. True. Do I see any competitor to Ethereum? You know, I don't. Ethereum is in a class of its own. In theory, the closest competition would be, in my mind, if Bitcoin flipped on a functional smart contracts platform and useful browser wallet, and overnight they just have a ton of idle volume sitting there that could be brought into a system like DeFi and Ethereum. But oh my gosh, like the potential of Ethereum is flabbergasting. It still blows my mind. And I have to think that we're still like the masses don't realize like the wildness going on Ethereum right now, just because like every now and then I get a glimpse of CNBC or Bloomberg and it's such a joke. They don't even talk about or mention Ethereum, and their coverage like doesn't understand it one bit. So I guess the closest competitor may be something like Solana. And Solana's advantages is essentially that SBF is like likely to buy off the entire US government. So they might be able to have some like friendly regulatory arbitrage, hilariously, as he's sitting in the Caribbean to avoid US taxes. But yeah, that's another interesting feature of our government. Solana theoretically could like avoid some of the scaling issues by just forcing it and having it completely centralized, so it can like LARP as decentralized, actually be more centralized, have the benefits therein, and not have to worry about like getting attacked by regulators. That being said, though, like I don't see anything coming close to Ethereum. Luis. AVAX, Sol, and FTM are L1 competitors. Yeah, Solana would be the biggest one. Phantom and AVAX, I don't yet see them as like strong competition. I see them as like alternatives, and I don't really see their use case. Like, I mean, I like AVAX and I like Phantom a lot. I don't see what they offer that Ethereum isn't just already killing it on. And like, so like generally speaking, I like products that like focus on like one specific use case and nail that. And I think like Ethereum is great for whales, and I think they should just focus on that, which is just like let's get only allow the super rich to use Ethereum. But they're not doing that. They are focusing on whales on L1 and onboarding all these L2s where like small people, they can get the next billion users. Ordinarily, I'd be bearish on it, but the Ethereum people are just way too talented. They're going to make it work. Let's see. The big 5 of 5 companies are going to cash in from the new customers. Truth. Yeah. Don't worry, they win it, Nate. Poor kid. Yeah, they go after people. It's sad. I meant the trading companies. Yeah. Where do I see Curve ecosystem in 5 years? And layman terms, Dot surely is. Yeah. Yeah, Polkadot's a competitor. I agree. I agree that they could be a competitor, but they're sort of occupying the same spot as Cardano, where they like are mostly vaporware, but they have such a pedigree that people are still like dumping value into them, even if they don't launch anything. At a certain point, like traction does matter, and I don't think Dot has it. I don't think Cardano has it. They have like a lot of hype, but to actually like outcompete Ethereum, like you need to have like at this point Ethereum's like replicated the like earliest web 0.2 at this point. Maybe like what those early days when Yahoo was just like a page of links. Like that's where Ethereum is right now. That would be tough to mimic, and I don't see it happening. Anyone, they're gonna have to actually maybe Luna might have been a competitor if they hadn't collapsed. Like they did have a lot of like they've kind of replicated those network effects a little bit. Shisha, where do I see Curve ecosystem in 5 years? It's a great question. I couldn't possibly guess. I will say that Curve is like composed of gigabrains. Like they see where the opportunities are, and they are going to launch and bite off these opportunities. So I think that like I can answer it by saying that I think that DeFi itself is going to explode. I don't have any doubt in my mind that within 5-10 years, DeFi is a multi-trillion-dollar industry, and Curve is going to be a significant, if not dominant, player within that. I think that Curve in 5 years will have flipped Uniswap. I think that people will realize that the V2 trading on Curve is just exceptional. And I think that they're going to like, as more and more value and tokens flow to that, I think that we'll see a flipping there. I don't know what the next opportunity, like once DeFi becomes a multi-trillion-dollar industry, I don't know what the opportunities are going to be. I just know that Curve is going to be right there at the forefront of it. I would be interested, like my outside the box prediction is I think that Curve should launch its own chain. Because why not? Like Curve is already cross-chain. Curve more than any other token I see, not more than any other token, but right up there, could launch they could launch a Bitcoin implementation, a Cardano implementation. They could launch on Solana, on Luna, and just have Curve like as a exchange stable swap protocol like on multiple different chains. And if you have that, why not launch your own chain where you can actually like natively have pools across these different chains? And Curve has the technical talent, they could do it. So I wouldn't be surprised if something like that happens. I have no insight, no like idea if Curve is planning that or anything. Today's Charles River Crypto Day in Boston, like that. Eth with a parachain. Yeah, I could see Eth just being one parachain on Dot. I doubt Dot's ability to execute at this point. Wable Stump, GM fan, made it live. Welcome, congratulations. Better yet, 300 when the contract ends. LOL. Yeah. Curve's got 300 years to figure out their inflation schedule. It's going to be pretty wild. Now, Vitalik says we're going to live that long, so we might be around to see it. Steve, $30 in 10 years. I don't have any comment on price predictions. Luis Aranda, in 5 years, I hope we have some order book-based dexes. Assuming L2 ends up working, what happens to the Starknet hype? Yeah, actually, that's $300 would be good. It's a interesting question about like order book based dexes. I think that's going to happen. I think that ultimately we're just going to see like all the like exchanges, they're just going to move on chain. One of the things I'd like to see on Curve, I don't know if it's actually possible though, is I would like to see limit orders. And I've been thinking about it and I can't figure out a way to do it natively. If you build it in native to the protocol, you can get it done. But I think that's a weakness of Curve. Layman's terms, damn, we can chat about why I think that sometime. Have to have a high-level conversation with anyone about Dot. Yeah, I admit a lot of this is that I'm just underinformed about Dot. I I've seen like they have been launching some things. I just feel like they should have more progress, and maybe it's just I don't follow the right people. I think that the potential of what they're building is incredible. I think it's like really challenging because it's so technically complex. I do think the team is smart enough to have kind of figured out all the ins and outs of the different technical complexities. But I would need to, like, before I had that conversation about DOT, I think I'd really need to dive in and understand a lot more about it. Otherwise, I'm just kind of speaking ignorantly. VS is giving some investment advice, so I hope VS is a registered financial advisor. Layman's terms, you would have to sidechain it to get the limits on Curve. Yeah. But if someone figures out a way of doing limit orders on Curve, it could be awesome. Don't worry, VS, I won't report you. The way liquidations would happen on DOT is revolutionary. Yeah, so I have to check out more about DOT. The most bear case for Curve, asks Shisha. So the only absolute strong bear case I could see would be it would have to be like such a severe regulatory crackdown that USDC and USDT and we'll start with those two. Those two move specifically to a strict whitelist. Blacklist is not as scary, but if USDC and USDT are forced to whitelist and only interact with approved contracts, then you'll have like Goldman Sachs will have their Marcus contract that get whitelisted, but you could not interact with any Curve pool. You couldn't send funds to your friends. I think it's incredibly unlikely, and even if that happened, I actually think DeFi it would be sort of good in the long run because we'd move away from the centralized stablecoins into the like more decentralized stablecoins. Because even if that happened, you couldn't have you couldn't blacklist an LUSD, for example. That's about the most bearish case for Curve, though, is just the short-term contagion from a super strict whitelist. And that being said, I don't see it as likely. So on top of everything else, like the Western nations are kind of falling apart. I feel bad saying because I'm living in one, but they're gonna have a really tough time like trying to get like this massive regulatory push against cryptocurrency, and that's not even the direction it's going. Within the U.S., like the direction's kind of cautiously optimistic. We're starting to see like smarter heads prevailing and pushing like smart regulation, and I think we'll eventually fall our way into like smart regulation, which is about the best case scenario. Like you want the case where a Zach XBT can have the power to knock out scammers in the space because that would actually make things better. All right, gold is plummeting, dude. DOT is dead. Cat smiley face. DeFi falling is the worst bear. They take stables and we're gonna have a tough time. Yeah, we'll have a tough time. I think people will figure it out though. Like if there's LUSDs that are pegged to $1 and they're disallowed from interacting with USDCs and banks, local Bitcoins and like similar type peer-to-peer services will pop up, and it could be very tough to completely ban that. So it'll be a lot more like difficult, but it'll be possible. And I think the regulators know it, and that's I think one of the reasons that they've really not been talking much about algorithmic stablecoins in their regulatory push so far. It would be very difficult to be effective. Waiting for CBDCs to launch. Regulators are going to crack down crypto hard by then. Price should go down a bit more. I don't know that I agree. I think that there's like we're seeing regulators already have been cracking down hard in crypto for the last 11 some years or so, and it hasn't hurt crypto so far, and it hasn't. Regulators haven't been successful. They'll try, and we're going to see lots more attempts by regulation, but I think ultimately we're going to see smarter heads prevail. DM, how about China regulation wise? China, so I can only guess because I'm not in China. Only people in China could possibly comment, but as harsh and repressive as China is, there's still every place, there's degrees of severity, there's loopholes in laws. So China banned Bitcoin mining last year, and still some 20% of the hash rates in China. So they didn't ban it that well, which means they're going to ban it again this year, which means price is going to go down with coordinated FUD with that. Arthur Hayes, in one of his recent articles, is talking about how China has to embrace Bitcoin, and they might. I don't exactly know how their legal system works, but a judge recently in China ruled that they couldn't ban Bitcoin. And I have to imagine that there's like enough central party control that judge didn't issue that as a rogue judge, but more like under the purview of like giving the central party like some kind of degree of freedom to embrace Bitcoin. But we'll see. Thoughts on the new Aave stablecoin? Yes, super bullish on the Aave stablecoin. Aave is brilliant. They're going to they have been knocking it out of the park and proving their resilience as DeFi throughout this entire bear market. I'm sure that they've put a lot of thought in this stablecoin, and I'm super excited to see where Go goes. VS, sir, is there an actual material-based stable crypto backed in the market? I'm not sure what you mean by material-based crypto stable. Like, are you referring to it's backed by material assets? Because that would be Tether, or gold, which would be, there's a few different gold stable coins. Luis Aranda retracted his message. All right. DM, ha 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 ha. Luis Aranda, is the USDT FUD legit? I don't buy the USDT FUD at this point. It's been around for as long as I've been following crypto. At this point, the burden of proof is on the USDT FUDsters because USDT has survived and thrived through all this FUD. They have, the proof has been in their actions. It would be nice if they were a bit more a bit more open in their backing, but I don't think it matters at this point because it wouldn't silence the FUD. So I support them being as closed and shady as they want. But by their actions, they've never had any issues. USDT has amazing integrations. I retweeted a thread about this that I thought was really good. I'm still a big fan of USDT and don't see any issues with it. But the trading firms are not reliable. True. The trading firms, anything that touches on CeFi, it's dead. I don't see any way that CeFi survives. TradFi is gonna eat its lunch. It's gonna be silly. Not financial advice. All right, we think there's a new record, 40 minutes. So a lot of fun chatting with you all. I see the comments are kind of dying down. It's gonna be a long weekend. I'll miss you all. I hope some of you are gonna join me on this ETH Seattle hike tomorrow. But yeah, looking forward to burn the cash, go to market. Yeah, looking forward to continuing these. I think we're seeing enough kind of regular traction with this that I'd like to keep it going. So maybe we'll even get good background going next time. Thank you, everyone, friends. We'll catch you next week.